Hey guys, what's up? Justine here. If this is your first time clicking on my videos, hi, I'm Justine. It's nice to meet you. I'm a nurse. I've been a nurse for 3 years. I recently started a new job in the emergency department about 2 months ago, and I'm slowly getting used to it. And that is pretty much what inspired this video. So I've been working in a rural, I guess you could say, emergency room department, and I believe we have up to 24 or 26 bed capacity, which is like the maximum. Basically, I'll tell you guys a little bit about how it works, and then you can understand what I want to talk about in this video. So basically, the emergency room where I work, I don't know if this is like this everywhere, I don't think so, but I work mostly night shifts. By the way, my position is day night, but they really only schedule me night shift because that's when they need me. So I'm always in the back. Obviously, when you start in the emergency room, you're in the back, which is like the observation area. You're not in the front and walk in and triage and all that, or trauma. That's like later after you have some experience. So I'm in the back in the observation, which is basically like you have patients that are admitted for observation, and then you do like blood tests, you put in IVs, they go for scans, and it's just like trying to figure out what's going on with them, and then the doctors will decide if they need to be admitted, if they need to go for surgery, if they can be discharged, anything like that. So on nights, like I was saying, there's 2 teams of nurses. So there's a small team, which is just 1 nurse, and that's often me, and you can have up to 8 patients, but I would say it averages at around 5 patients per night. And then you have the big team, which is a nurse and an LPN, and together they can have up to 12 patients. And I would say that averages to about 9-10 patients maybe. And so last week, it wasn't the first time I was in the big team, but basically last week I worked 4 nights in a row. The first night in the whole emergency department, like in the back, we had 4 patients. So I was in the big team, we had 3 patients only. And then the next night I was in the big team. So I was basically in the big team for the 4 nights, but the second and the third night we had our maximum capacity of 12 patients, including like a discharge and an admission. I know it doesn't sound super busy, but let me tell you, for me it was. And so I was really having trouble staying organized, and basically I'll just break it down for you guys. The LPN will usually do the vitals, her assessments, she'll do like any bloods that needs to be done, change IV fluid bags, and then she'll do the charting, and then I'll do my assessment, saying if I need to auscultate or I need like more in-depth assessments. But I really trust her judgment. Obviously she has a lot of experience, she knows what she's talking about, and she does all the charting, which is really nice. And if I have anything I need to add, like for the cardiac monitors or whatnot, I'll add it because I deal with cardiac monitors. And basically my job on nights is obviously to like work with her and do whatever, but it's also to go through all the charts, make sure that all the pharmacy orders were picked up, make sure that all the orders, like the medical orders, like for tests and bloods and all that, were picked up for the morning, look through the chart to see what all the consults said, look at the lab values, make sure nothing was missed. If there's anything that was missed, I need to go talk to the doctor. Meanwhile, I'm doing these 12 charts, which can take me up to like half an hour a chart if I keep getting interrupted. So I could get interrupted. I need to go, if I need to have an admission and I'm by myself, my LPN is on break, I need to do the bloods, I need to do the IVs. If someone nauseous, I need to give them something. If they're in pain, to do follow-ups for narcotics, you talk to the doctor if there's something weird on the monitor. Just a lot of things happening at the same time. And when I'm trying to focus on just going through one chart, honestly, no interruptions, I can do it in 5 minutes. 5 minutes if it's an easy one, 10 minutes max, but it can take longer. And so I was just, basically what I want to say is that I was having trouble organizing myself, and when I would give report to the charge nurse in the morning, I felt like such a failure because I was missing information and I didn't do things properly. I forgot to do things and I felt very judged, and I did not like that feeling. So I came up with a list of things to help me and to help you guys feel more organized at work. Even if you don't work in the emergency department, wherever you work, we could always feel more organized. You know, being organized, you can never be too organized, okay? So basically that is what these tips are going to be. Sorry that was a long intro, but I just kind of like had to tell you guys about it so you can understand where I'm coming from. So without further ado, let's get started. This video, okay, so yes, it's to be organized, but I wanted to talk about more about how to handle heavy patient loads or like busy patient loads. So my number one, which I've already talked about, is to be organized. So have your report sheet, have a detailed report sheet that you can refer to, that you like, that you understand, that you can keep organized, because it's so easy to mess up and to be confused with your report sheet if you're writing information everywhere. So stay organized. And I actually have a like a sample report sheet that I use at work. I mean, it's specific to ER, but like not really. And I put it up on my Etsy for you guys because I want you guys to use it if you're having trouble being organized. And I wanted to put it up for free, but I couldn't, so I just put it for like 99 cents. So if you guys want to check it out, I'm gonna put it like right here just so you guys can see it and see if it's something that interests you. I will have it linked down below on my Etsy shop. My Etsy shop is always linked down below, but it's gonna be down below if you guys want to check it out. Also, to stay organized is to communicate, whether it's with your LPN, it's with your PAB, with your charge nurse, with your doctor. Always communicate and don't be afraid to ask questions. I often ask my LPN so many questions because she's been there for like 10 years and she knows what she's talking about. She knows how things work. She has good intuition. And if I don't know, I'm like, should I do this? Should I do this? Because I'm new. Like, I don't know often what to do in certain situations. She'll guide me and I'll communicate with her. And then I find that especially when you're working at the LPN, it's so important to communicate because you're both working on the same patient load, and I find it so easy to get confused. Like if I think that she's gonna do this, but she thought I was gonna do it, and then no one ends up doing it. So communicating is so important. I'll often be like, okay, I'm gonna go do this, or like if there's something we need to do that like the doctor comes with orders, I'll be like, okay, do you want to go do the bloods, and then I'll put this in the computer, or do you want me to go do the bloods, or like, are you busy? Like, just communicate with everyone. That way you don't assume anything and everything is just clear and it makes sense. Coffee break. Okay, number 2 is especially for night shift, and especially if you're working with an LPN. I don't know, this is probably so unsafe of me, but so like I said, the LPN will go start her rounds at midnight. When we start, she does her vitals, her assessments, whatever needs to be done, if there's blood work, anything, while I already start looking through the charts right away, because it, like I said, it can take me up to 4 hours if we have 12 charts, and I need to go on break, and I need to I have other stuff I need to do. So I'll start doing the charts, look over anything, look over my report sheet again, and I found that those nights that we were so busy, I was so task oriented, I didn't have a mental image of my patients. And so when someone would ask me, like if the charge nurse or the doctor would ask me a question, I couldn't associate a patient with a face. It would just be the room number. And I find it so much more simple when you can have a mental image of a patient. That way, if someone asks you a question, you remember seeing them, you remember the conversation you had with them, and it just makes everything so much easier. Like, I find it much easier to classify patients in my head if I have a mental image of them, if I've spoken to them. Even if the LPN's already done their assessment, I'll go in and talk to them, just make sure they're okay. That way I can like kind of gauge how they're looking, how they're feeling, and I can like associate a name and a room number with a face. Number 3 is to check your charts often. Oftentimes, especially on nights, the doctors won't tell you when they write orders, and the doctors are always seeing patients on nights because, I mean, oftentimes they'll start with, like, say you start with 8 patients, 4 have been seen, 4 haven't been seen. So you know they're going to be seen probably throughout the night, and the doctor might be writing the orders while you went in the hallway to do something. You come back. If you don't check your charts, you won't know, and you're going to miss lots of important information. So always check your charts. Even if the doctor, this happened to me last week, the doctor came back with a chart and said, oh, it's nothing important. So in my mind, that was like when to do vital signs, the diet, like blood for the morning, things like that. No, it was what was it? Ankle x-ray or something, and a D-dimer. Like, that's important. Like, and then the LPN looked at it an hour later and she was like, oh, did you know this was here? And I was like, oh no, she said it wasn't important. Well, when she said it wasn't important, she meant it didn't meet stat. Even if you don't have time to like pick up the orders right away, at least look at them, because if I had looked at them, everything would have been done faster, the patient would have been seen faster, and he would have gotten home faster. So always check your charts, especially if you're covering for someone else. Make sure you peek, say, every 20 minutes on the other side to make sure the doctor hasn't written orders over there. You can like at least fax them to pharmacy, pick them up, whatever. That way it's easier for your nurse friend when they come back from their break. Next is to keep an updated to-do list. In my report sheet, you guys will see to the right, there's a little square where I keep a to-do list, and at the beginning of my shift, whenever I'm taking a report, I always write a little list right away, and then I tick them off as I go, and then either I tick it off or I cross it off. And then if throughout the night, say I realize my patient's diabetic and I need to do a blood sugar in the morning, I'll write on my list. That way I know exactly what I need to do in the morning or throughout the night, and it's very simple. You could also do like post-it notes that you keep like on your computer. I've done that before. You can have like a just a separate piece of paper with all your room numbers and your to-do list, if you have meds to give in the morning. Like, every hospital works differently. Those are just a couple ideas for you guys to keep updated to-do lists. Next is to delegate. I feel like as nurses, we don't like delegating, but when you're so busy and you have so many things to catch up on, like sometimes even if there's something I want to do myself, I'll ask, like if I need to do like a narcotic follow-up because I gave morphine, like, and I gave it, so I want to do it. But if I'm like really busy running behind on my charts, I'll ask my LPN. I'll be like, are you busy? Can you please do this for me? And oftentimes she's fine with it. Or if I need to go on break but I still have like a couple things that need to be done, say like a blood test, say I need to go on break at like 3:30, my blood test is at 4, instead of waiting until 4, I'll ask my coworker, be like, hey, do you mind if I, like, I'll go on break now so we don't, like, doesn't get any later, because then she has to go after that, but do you mind doing my blood test? And oftentimes they're fine with it. I've had to do so many blood tests when my coworkers were on break. Like, it's just normal. You can't control time, but you can control the time you go on break, and that's the most important, because everyone should have a right to get their break. So delegate, delegate, delegate. And the last tip I have for you guys is to keep up with your charting, especially in the emergency room. It's so important to chart. I want to say every hour. If I'm being realistic, I don't think I do chart every hour, maybe every other hour. But one thing I always do is, as soon as anything happens, if there's an event that happens with my patient, whether it's drawing bloods, just redoing vitals, if they woke up, they went to the bathroom, I'll chart it, because little things like that you will forget and you need to chart them. And then if you don't do that for all your patients, say your patient crashes and then you're stuck with them for an hour or longer and you have to chart this whole thing, you really think you're going to remember every little thing that happened with your 11 other patients? No, you're not. So make sure that your charting is up to date, even if it's just like 1 or 2 lines. It doesn't have to be long, 1 or 2 lines every hour, every other hour, just to make sure that you're up to date and you don't get lost with your charting. So that was it, guys. Those were my, I don't know how many there were, but those were my tips to staying organized and to deal with a busy patient load. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys have any other tips, please leave them down below. I need them. I need all the help I can get. It hasn't been so easy adjusting to the emergency room, and I could use all the help I can get. So if you guys have any tips, please leave them down below. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye, guys.